Call the meeting to order. Ron, if you would do the roll call, please.
Sure. Sean Kimball.
Here.
Jeff Sullivan.
Here.
Greg Rosenblatt.
Here.
Chris Daddy.
Here.
Megan Rockwell.
Here.
Dennis Ryu.
Here.
Chuck Neff.
Here.
Rich Gussenberg. Here. And Sarah Stevens Morling should
She'll be late.
should be late. Thank you.
Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comments? There's nobody. You two are the TechCon? Okay. I assume no public comments. Sarah will be late, so we'll defer on public correspondence until she gets back here. Minutes from February 8th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, any second?
Sure.
Second, okay. Any comments on the minutes? Being none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved as
I have to
drafted.
abstain from
Yep.
it.
Yes, Chuck.
I abstain. from
Oh,
it.
you abstained, okay. So all approvals and one abstention. Chairman's report, the chairman's up there. Rich, if you want to give it, otherwise I'll read what you had sent as an email.
Yeah, I sent it out ahead of time. If anyone's got any questions or comments, be glad to respond. But otherwise, I'll leave it in your hands.
Okay, sure. What Rich had said is a presentation to planning and zoning on the North End School went very well on Monday. Justin did a review of each of the items raised in the first hearing and a response to each. The commission appeared to be very satisfied with our submissions and our response to the original comments. Much of the conversation revolved around the sidewalks. We showed the changes we were proposing, which included a sidewalk from the preschool side of the building to Jarvis Street and then west to the corner of Marion. A second driveway would run from the north side of the building up the bus driveway, then north on Marion to the corner of our lot. Vin Massiani and Dr. Salon spoke on the process for determining students who could potentially become walkers. And they said if you have a chance, take a look at the meeting on YouTube. And he thanks Dennis and Chuck for attending the meeting. Any questions for Rich on P&Z? Nope. Okay. He also did a Zoom presentation to the town council on Tuesday. He reviewed the present state of the two projects and the approval process. There are only two questions from the council. One revolved around concerns regarding the first hearing with planning and zoning on the North End School. He pointed out the positive steps that have been taken since the first hearing and how well the second hearing went. The second question revolved around the sidewalks and the role the town should play in extending them beyond the school site. Overall, a very positive meeting, and again, it's on YouTube should you be interested. Any questions for Rich on the second one?
What role did we tell the town that they should play? How did that end up?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Chuck.
What role how did the conversation with the town about the sidewalks end up? Or what's like the outcome of it?
Well, the question from the town came from Jim Jinks, and of course, he's very involved with, biking and walking to school, that sort of thing. So it was really more a matter of what role should the town play in terms of extending sidewalks from Courier Woods area up to the school, or from the Marion Road area to the north where some of the subdivisions are. And they were talking a little bit about what money was involved in the town budget and how much they felt they could do. No real impact on our project at all. They just want to try to build on what we're doing.
Yeah, planning and zoning cannot require us to do sidewalks outside of the limits of our property.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at, is like the role they should play is it's their sidewalks, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we're going to be starting the capital budget next month, and there will be at least a proposal for the Jarvis extension, and the rest is being evaluated.
Okay. Any other questions for Rich on the chairman's reports? If not, any update on Inflation Reduction Act? Anything happening with that?
There are no updates from
from my side of things. I don't
Yeah,
know
we're
if the
just
town-
scheduling a meeting. I have Andrew Grant's manager scheduled a meeting to discuss with the council. More to come in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and once
Yeah,
we wrap.
Sean and I have communicated about setting up a meeting with the various people that are involved, try to move the process ahead. And Sean has asked Andrew Martelli to go ahead and set that meeting up. And that's as far as we've gotten so far. So hopefully we'll get you some further information on that soon.
Okay, good. Action on submitted invoices.
2 invoices.
Mhm.
Both of them are from the commissioning agent, Van Zone Engineers. First item is for the Norton Elementary School in the amount of $1,875.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept, or to pay an invoice to Van Zelm Engineering, amount of $1,875 for the new Norton Elementary School?
Motion to approve.
Motion second. Okay, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Second item is the new North End Elementary School, Van Zone Engineers, in the amount of $1,340.64.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept or to pay the commissioning services invoice for Van Zelm Engineering, North End, $1,340.64?
Motion to approve.
Motion, a second? Second. Chuck, any comments? Seeing none, all in favor of paying this, please raise your hand. Opposed? Passes unanimously. And that concludes the invoices. Next is the working group recommendation for the third-party structural peer review. Recall we had a tie last week between Maki and E2. And working group, Dennis and Chuck, if you want to take it from here.
Sure. Greg and Chuck and I met with Mike Blickus from Mikey Engineers and Scott Erickson from E2 via Zoom. Basically, the two approaches that they had for the third-party review for the structural were very similar. There were some nuances between the two that kind of differentiated one from the other. I think what we liked the most about Mackey Engineers is that they were a little bit more conservative in their approach to how they were going to tackle the structural review, which seemed to suit our subgroup better. So with that in mind, I'd like to make a motion that this committee recommend to town council that they approve or they award the third-party review for the North End School to Mikey Engineers in the amount of $12,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Or any discussion? No. All in favor? Anyone opposed?
The second motion is for the North End, for the Norton School, I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion to recommend to town council that they award the third-party review of the Norton School to Mackey Engineers for the amount of $11,000.
Second, okay, Chris, any comment or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Nope, passes unanimously. Okay, owner's rep, open item log update.
So, there are no new open item logs, or no new open items on the log. We have made some notes from the last meeting, which are reflected here. And,
I have just something to add to this. I have a couple of people looking into, some RF engineers for the cell carriers looking into getting the signal strength
okay.
for that, what we talked about the last meeting. I don't have that information yet, so I did make inquiries, and I am waiting on a follow-up to get actual
signal strength.
What I put down is that the CPS is gonna go out and check the strength. I know that you had mentioned that you had contacts also, so do you want me to report that you're gonna have RF engineers also looking at this?
If you could.
Yeah.
Checking with a cell phone is,
Understood.
it's like a
Yeah.
moment in time. It's not
Yeah.
what the actual expectation is. I mean, it's
Especially
not a bad
today.
thing. It's not a bad thing, but
Okay. At both schools, Chris?
yes, sir.
Okay.
I think I mentioned it last time, but I did confirm that there is a tower likely going to be constructed in the next 6 to 9 months in the Big Y area that will accommodate multiple carriers, so it will, the Norton, but that's been a bad area of town for a long time anyway, but just know by the time, if that all goes to plan and all stays on track, then by the time school opens, it'll be a much different signal strength. Just
I should be able to,
yeah.
I'm sure they would all know about that and be able to incorporate that. So it's good to know. I'll make sure I ask about that.
Yep.
And they're Big Y, you said?
Yeah.
Do you know if it's already into the council? Citing council?
Yeah, it went in December.
Oh, so yeah, so there's no secret about that, then that's fine.
Chris, do you have a timeframe for this?
It's asking people I know.
No, I understand.
It's,
Should I
Next
keep
meeting,
it?
we'll try next meeting. Hopefully I'll have
Okay.
something next
All
meeting.
right. I think I have it out till April, so,
I was hoping to have something tonight, but I don't.
Okay.
So.
all right.
Can only push so hard on a favor, you know how it is.
I completely understand. I have it out in April, so I figured maybe that's a safe assumption.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we're still in February, yeah. By all means, I should have something by February, or an abort from me by February, I mean by April. Chance I can get actually, no, I should be able to get it on my own.
Anything else on the open items,
No,
or that's it?
that was it.
Okay. And then we have the contract amendments, if any, with the herpetologist and geothermal test
Yeah.
wells. If
So,
any change in that, or where do we stand?
so you do have some information I think Jeff had passed around on the herpetologist. I think it's an AIA, yeah, that's right. So Jeff is presenting an additional service for the herpetologist of $14,300. And what that breaks down to is $6,000 is for the state mandated going out and observing the species. Benesh also feels as though they probably have to do some field reports. They don't know how many, so they have a not to exceed amount of about $4,800. And then consulting team coordination with Deep, that's both Tecton and Benesh of $3,500. So we'd like to put this in as a not to exceed amount, so that we can adjust Tecton's contract on the North End School.
So was this all, just similar to what I asked last meeting for the last, I think it was for the geotech, when we talked about that. So was this something that was not foreseen or otherwise excluded?
Well, it wasn't included, right? It's not a basic service, and it's something that was not foreseen at the time that Tecton put their proposal together.
So is this T&M?
The first one that's herpetologist, I don't think that's T&M. I think that's lump sum. And then I think the others are T&M, but Jeff might be able to clarify that for me.
So yeah, I can if you'd like. So the backup sheet gave a bunch of, statistical information on what his report would be. So we summarized it as 6,000 not to exceed. My expectation is that that's how he's gonna bill according to what he provided. And then the other two, the 4,800 was Deep may come back and say, well, you need to be out there periodically during the construction. So that's, I guess, a conservative approach for visits at 8 hours each to go out, visit the site, provide a report. So those are, again, hourly not to exceed. And then the third one is just the coordination with Deep if we need to file additional paperwork. So the step one, or item one, is really the most important piece right now, is to get them satisfied.
I mean, should we approve the 6,000 now, put the other two in abeyance until they're required, or would you like an approval of the full amount?
It's entirely up to you. I mean, if you approve the entire amount, we'd ask for authorization to proceed. We'd let you know that we would need to do the CA reports, obviously. So,
And where does the money come from, Jeff?
It would come from the owner's contingency.
Oh, okay.
Well, you're saying not to exceed, but it doesn't on here say not to exceed, or does it, am I missing it?
it doesn't say
No.
that. We didn't put it in there, but we have no objections to, we're not. You can make that as part of the amendment to the motion or whatever.
Any discussion before we put it, or?
I mean, if we approve it, we can approve it as not to exceed for that amount,
Right.
instead of just
That's-
saying we approve it for this.
Well, that's what
Right.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
And through the invoice approvers, we're always looking at it, and so we're gonna make sure that, that it stays as a not to exceed.
And we'll adjust this to say not to exceed.
I make a motion to approve the additional services for the turtle hunter. In the not to exceed sum of $14,300 as described in C801 AIA form.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further
I
discussion?
can't say herpetologist.
You just did.
I would just say that we need to amend this, even though we're approving it, we would have to
Right.
amend it to say
So not to exceed, right. Okay. Reflect that, and Jeff, you guys
Yep.
take care of that?
I'll take care of it and send it to Rich.
Yep. All those in favor of approving document G801-207 dated February 22, 2024, as amended, not to exceed 14,300. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Okay, the other item is the geothermal wells, and I got the information I needed today to put together an RFP or an invitation to bid, so this can go out. And it hasn't gone out yet, so we have nothing to approve, but we are going to be soliciting the services of a well driller to drill 2 wells on both properties, so that they can get the test wells and understand what the characteristics are, so they can finish their design. Those wells will be incorporated into the geothermal field, so it's not an effort that's lost. It's actually going to be incorporated. So we're hoping. I'm going to work with Vin over the next couple of days. Hopefully we can get this out next week, and I'm hoping that we can. I mean, I'm putting a bid date of March 8th. That might be a little aggressive, but if we get it in by March 8th, that gives us plenty of time to actually line up the well drillers, get the contract signed, and then more importantly, get them out to Norton for the week between April 8th and April 12th, which is the school vacation. North End, not so critical, but we'll be going out at the same time, so they should run simultaneous.
Rich, how does that work as far as the bids go? Would the plans then show those wells as, existing to remain and not to be included in the bid, or it's not like a credit?
Yes,
or-
yeah. As a matter of fact, we were going through the whole cost estimates, and the costs were incorporated into the estimate, but we've asked the estimators to back those out because, the cost of 2 wells are going to be incurred on the upfront, so they're not going to be in the GMP.
We need anything from us prior to sending the bid out on March 8th?
I don't think so. The committee here, they take action on bids that come in. So we're gonna put this out on the street. We're just notifying, the committee that this is happening.
Because
the test well location at either site, has that already been determined? Like that's already in your array and you know where it is, the test one, or no?
Yes, that's one of the tasks that Benesh is gonna be doing. Kohler Ronan has gotten the field spacing and location information to Benesh. They are going to identify where those are. I mean, ultimately, these are gonna be permanent. So, yes, that's being coordinated.
What's the total number at North End?
2 each.
No, the total.
Oh.
Yeah.
You wanna say 66,
Yeah, they're
66
20,000
unless it
feet
changed.
deep. Yeah.
No, the permanent, how many?
How many wells? How many wells?
Should be 66.
66, yeah.
And there's 2 test wells each site, not just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
From
North End 62
Oh.
and Norton 50,
So it's like
unless that changed.
3% of whatever it is.
We have 78 in another project, and we conducted 2 test wells. We got good
That's
information.
what I wrote back in October, so.
Oh, October. Mine's from 2 days ago.
from the estimate, was it around $25,000 a well?
Oh, well, yes,
I
yeah,
don't remember.
yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
If you'll indulge me, Mr. Chairman, so, you know, I asked the chairman if he would put just an item on the agenda of, you know, items that need approval going forward. There are no other items that need approval tonight. I just wanted to, you know, give the committee a heads up on what's gonna be coming. So we have structural peer consultant, which we've approved tonight. We just talked about the geothermal wells. We've talked about in the past the steel pre-detailers that O&G is going to come before with a proposal. We just approved the herpetologist. Special inspections is also something that we're going to need. That's something that was not incorporated with Michael Horton Associates, but it's a service that's needed. So. You know, we're going to go through Tecton on their contract on that also, and have Michael Horton do the special inspections. We've also talked about some additional bid phases that Laurel is going to go over in her schedule tonight. So there's efforts there that are necessary, and we're going to need to put together what the cost is to do those additional that additional bid phase for both the schools. Environmental assessment on the residential property at Norton. So I reached out to the town manager the other day, and I've got some information back. So when the property gets incorporated into the project, the state's going to want to know what the environmental assessment is. As I understand it, the town bought that through auction and didn't do a whole lot of due diligence on the property. Correct? Okay. So that being said, yes, got it in price. So that being said, we're going to need to do some environmental assessment on the property that's getting incorporated into the project, which is pretty much the side where the garage is. So we already have Eagle Environmental on board doing the assessment for the school. We can extend their contract. I'll ask them to give us a proposal for that. And then finally,
Should that come out of this budget?
if it's
Should that be the town?
well, once the property becomes part of the project, then it becomes a project cost as opposed to a town cost.
So I guess now's the great time to ask that question then, isn't it?
Yeah. The town manager did inform me that the town is taking care of the demolition of the garage. I don't know what's happening with the house, but that's not going to be on the project property, so that's not a concern that the committee should be concerned with.
Right. So you're talking about just the phase one environmental?
I think it would be a phase one,
Phase
yeah,
one,
unless they
phase
find something, and then it would have to go to a phase two.
Can we go back to special inspections for a second?
Yeah.
Does Horton have materials left? Materials testing left?
No, they're doing the special inspections for the structural engineer. They're not doing the construction tests, materials testing. That would be a different agency. It would have to be like an IMTL.
Right.
Which is also
That's
something
another
that we're gonna-
firm.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean, either way works, but I've had better luck when the special inspector is also the materials testing.
Yeah, we have no objections. We were
Okay.
just asked to give a, sometimes the owner prefers the special inspector be the structural engineer, because sometimes it's independent.
Okay, well, we
We have
can
no,
cross that bridge when we
yep,
get there.
we have no objection.
I don't disagree with
Makes for an expeditious report.
With respect to the additional lots, we are going through the lot combination process in our meeting on Tuesday with the town departments. This can be handled administratively with the town planner. The purpose of which is, once that happens, the SCGO 53, which is the site portion of the grant process, will become amended to incorporate those lots into this project. The purpose being that any work that is associated with it can then receive the minimum 45% reimbursement, 45 to 50% reimbursement.
So in the big picture, it's saving the town money by getting the reimbursement on it, but it's really costing us, the project money, by taking money out of the budget.
Right, which is the same dilemma with the demo. Again, when we appropriated money for the purchase at auction, we added some money to take care of the demo. But it's the same when we raised this, I know, at a prior meeting too, where technically we could get that, half of that reimbursed or 40%. But the downside is it's taking away from part of the project budget, which we don't also want to do. So at this point, and we've been doing a lot of site clearing just with public works staff back in the late fall. And we've had the garage. The garage is the one that's right in the way, in where the driveway is going to come. And so we're prepared to take that down and take that cost on. But we hadn't had any plans to do the phase one environmental research on it at this point.
What's like the ballpark of the phase one for this site?
Very expensive. No, it's like $2,000 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
My concern would be is if it comes back, I mean, all of a sudden we've got
We'll give
a
it back to the
hazardous
town.
cleanup.
you don't have to take
We just moved the driveway.
it. Move the driveway.
Just move the lot lines around the contaminated areas.
Just have an island in the middle.
I mean, you guys are all chuckling, but there's a reason why we have to do these studies. It's because they find things, and if we do find things, this $2,000 could become 20, 50, or whatever. And, I know I seem like I'm worried about pennies and stuff, but I know as this project goes on, those pennies turn into dollars, and those dollars turns into 10s and 20s, and it all adds up. And, we're taking away from a fixed budget. There's no way to get any more money out of this from our perspective right now. So that's why I'm concerned about that.
And I got
Yeah,
one more.
go ahead, please.
and over at the North End School, there is a detection of contaminated soil. It's a low-level contaminated soil, but it's going to get mixed and it's going to stay on the site. But we had our call with the civil engineer and with the environmental engineer. We thought it was a good idea to get additional samples so that we can identify the area of where the contamination is, so that we're restricting it. It's at such a low level that we think that if we take more samples, then we can identify and really contain the area to where that contaminated soil is. And so Eagle said that the tests are about $100 a piece, so we're going to ask them to come back and take some additional samples.
What was the contamination? Did they
Pesticides.
identify
It was
it?
pesticides, yeah, from
From the
being
farms,
farmed.
yeah.
Exactly.
So what's the course of action with that? I mean, you say it's staying on, but you're not going to want to keep it on if it's contaminated at an elementary school.
It's a very low level. As a matter of fact, the environmental engineer said that they don't even have to restrict. Well, they said it has to be restricted as to where it's placed only because of the groundwater runoff. As far as where it gets placed in the rest of the area, as far as fields go, once it's mixed, and because it's such a low level, it's basically going to get mixed in, and then you'll be below any hazardous levels.
So it's not, you know,
If
it's
it
not
was
an
in,
office, you got kids digging in the city, so it's no risk of that, okay.
No.
if it was in your backyard, you wouldn't have to do anything with it because the thresholds for a residential property are different than a commercial one, or in this case, a school. So, just to give you some comfort level, I forget how many total samples were taken on site. The elevated levels, I think we had like somewhere between 9 and 12 samples. The elevated levels were on 1. So what the goal is to not treat all of the topsoil as potentially have this pesticide in it, and take additional samples to help narrow where that contamination is, so that we can then separate it, and through the process of stripping the topsoil, it typically gets mixed together because these types of pesticides are typically only in the top 6 inches of the soil, and then when everything gets mixed together, it becomes lower than the level of detection. So the goal is to identify those locations so that those can be separated and then retested, and then and then they can be distributed on site.
So it gets much more diluted by being
Yep.
mixed in with a bigger batch, and then that gets distributed out, okay. But there's no safety issue for kids playing in it or anything like that?
No.
We need to be mindful of the safety. All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay, thank you, Rich. Architects and construction manager at risk. First one is update on town and state approvals.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that in your packet, until we get through the entire regulatory schedule, we'll continue to report on the meetings that we're holding for both the North End and Norton. As Chairman Gussenberg had mentioned, we did have our P&Z hearing for the North End, our second one, on February 12th. They closed the public hearing, so they were satisfied to the point where they could then deliberate and likely provide a conditioned approval at the next meeting. So we assume that will occur at the March 11th meeting. We also met with town staff on Tuesday of this week. We've provided some meeting notes as part of your packet regarding the attendees and some of the items that we went over. And mostly this was for finishing the discussion about the final plan and the conditions to modify into a final plan for the North End, but also discuss the inland wetlands for Norton and prepping for the P&Z meeting for Norton. So we were scheduled to have an IWWC meeting for Norton this past Tuesday. That meeting was canceled due to lack of quorum. The second hearing is on March 5th. We assume that the public hearing will be closed at that meeting so that we can then attend the Planning and Zoning Commission on the March 11th meeting. So March 11th is going to be a fairly involved meeting. We do not have any more formal discussions or presentations regarding the North End. The Commission will likely condition the approval and vote to move that along, but we will be giving a full presentation on Norton. One of the things that have come up and we have been advised on is the commission members will be heavily interested in how we plan to sequence the construction so that the existing Norton School, the impact on the existing Norton School is minimized. And frankly, that's something that we work very hard with O&G and Arcadis to make sure that we're getting a good logistics plan together. So for that reason, we think that O&G should also be present at these meetings in order to be able to discuss some of the logistics, the site logistics. So there are a number of phases that are upcoming, and I don't mean to steal any of Laurel's thunder that you want to go over. But there will be an early enabling package to put the box culvert in to Sharon. And basically, that work needs to be done this summer so that it's not being done during the school year when students come back for the fall. And that will allow, when we ultimately get bids, will allow us to sequester the areas of construction on site and have access to the property. So there are 3 or 4 phases. There's the enabling phase, the construction phase, which is the majority of the students being in school, and construction of the new school happening to the north of the site. And then there's the turnover. So we're gonna, there's, as soon as students break for the summer in 2025, the new building will be ready for them to come back to school. 26, sorry.
Good try.
Hey, you squeeze our schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
So, as soon as that happens, the site will essentially be flip-flopped and open for the new building, and we will be doing demolition, abatement, demolition of the existing building, and the development of the parking areas. So there's 4 sequences that are within that will be part of the discussions. And IWWC asked these questions as well, though not necessarily their direct purview. We feel compelled to at least address those questions. So
Parking, logistics,
Yeah.
bus drop-off, those
Yeah.
are the questions that will get asked.
Yeah.
Or were asked at inland wetlands, but certainly at P&Z.
And that's not something that would typically be a formal presentation to us before making the formal presentation to them.
It's really operations, so I know Laurel's had several meetings with like fire marshal, superintendent, school staff, trying to get the logistics worked out, so
It's
not,
like a means and methods of
Yeah.
the setup and the
yeah,
phasing.
it doesn't really change the scope, really, it's
Yeah,
just,
because it's temporary, you know, it's just how we're doing things temporarily.
I mean, we certainly should share whatever, it's, those logistics plans will be part of our updated inland wetland application to Morton, which you all will have access to, so, which, there's already a set in there that describes a lot of this, it's just we're fine tuning it to make sure that, the scope is clear and the questions are answered.
It is good for everyone to know, I think, to that point, because
Yeah.
we're used to seeing, you know,
The
the
finish.
colored map from above when it's all done. And, you know, when I saw the phasing plan, it kind of dawned on me that, oh, that's right, you're gonna need, where all the playgrounds and stuff are, you're gonna need temporary parking there until everything else is done, and so, yeah, it's a substantial area that has the temporary parking.
Maybe at least after it's all set and it's all finalized, maybe we can devote some time at one of the meetings just to.
well, it's as particularly with that project, it's important that members of the public or people that are viewing this process from home or checking in, that they are aware of what the impact is going to be, especially the Norton community with parents and parents that have students there.
And I'm not saying it needs to be a 2-hour presentation in such granularity, but just something so that we can get the high-level points of, oh, this is what happens when it starts, you know, like the colored little maps, these blocks here, it's this, and we sequence into this and that. I think it's helpful just to get a sense of what to expect once things start.
Okay, we'll pare it down to 90 minutes.
With my questions, that'll be a good 3-4 hours, so it's up to you.
So that's the upcoming regulatory schedule. One thing that I do want to apprise the committee on is we've received notification of cancellations of our design development review meetings with the State Office of Grants Administration. The reason being is we're informed that OGA is no longer conducting PrEP, SDR, and DDR meetings as they are not statutorily required. So we do not have any formal reviews with the state until we're ready to submit our bid documents or pre-bid conformance reviews. So that's not to say that we cannot request a meeting, and I think it's probably appropriate, given the sizes of these projects, to discuss space waivers and potentially modifications to the 053. But those are not those are not conditional on each phase, and those need to be done ad hoc through a request. So, as much as it pains all of us to not have to sit in a 6-hour meeting with 30 people, it's just the way the state is doing business now.
So the one for Norton that's on the schedule is no longer there?
Oh, I left that on the schedule. I guess that was wishful thinking. Yep, that's correct. Thank you for pointing that out, Dennis.
No problem.
Back to the planning and zoning meeting, that's on the 11th. When do you have like the presentation and stuff for us to look at ahead of time, all that stuff?
Well, all of the materials, we can certainly, all of the submission materials will be complete next week. So we typically will put a couple of those slides in a PowerPoint, and I don't know exactly what the date is, but
Like whatever you provide the planning and zoning for their preparation for the meeting, they'll send to us.
oh
at the
yes,
same time.
yeah, the same way. I trust you received all of the North End stuff. Okay, all right.
But then when you present it to planning and zoning, I think this was the hiccup from the first meeting last time, is they were seeing something different than what you had sent. So I just wanna make sure it's final, I guess, when you send it to us, or it's not gonna change in between the meeting, especially for them, because it seemed like that was a big setback to the first meeting.
Yeah, and I know that we spoke about that immediately after our last one with this committee, to describe to you the controls that we put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And for that very reason, we're having a tighter communication with the town staff. And Tecton is taking the lead in the correspondence between town staff and our engineers.
So what, for Norton, the original application's in, we received all the comments back from the staff, and I was looking to see when we were submitting it. And we're submitting the response to the comments and any revisions to those plans, and that is what will be presented. So I think that's coming up at the end of next week. So whenever we get that package from the engineers, we'll make sure it's posted, but that is going to be the presentation.
Got it.
Because that package has to go into inland wetlands.
Yep.
Excuse me. Is there an empty chair there?
Jeff works here.
Jeff was here.
Oh, Jeff was
here.
Oh, no, you can come, we can slide around. Do you have another chair?
Well, yep.
Let's roll another chair.
Is there, I don't know if Jeff's coming back, is he coming back?
think
Yeah,
he said he
yeah,
was
yeah,
gonna
just
call.
take a call.
Yeah.
I'll get the chair. I got this one. We're good. You got that one?
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Watch your heads.
Just like,
Sorry to cause mayhem as soon as I did.
All good. So I think that basically
Covers
the
approvals. So that takes us, design development, I guess first deliverables. That was you first, Laura, and then the cost estimate?
Sure. So I'm gonna share my screen
Okay.
with, yeah. Awesome. Okay, so, Rich, I'm sharing my screen on Zoom so you can follow along as well.
Yeah, I can see it here, but I also have it on my iPad.
Great. So just a couple things. We want to go over some of our baseline information, schedule update, project summary. We want to get into design development, including the current site and floor plans. I should mention we have Ernest Nepomuceno and Anna Petronia here from Tecton as well. And we also have some of our interior finishes that Anna will be able to kind of curate us through. So just a reminder of our kind of dual project budgets. I think you guys all know this by heart. We are speaking about the north end this evening with a construction cost budget of $73,500,700. It is worth noting that our building area that is included in the grant application is $115,465. Our current floor plans are approximately 2,000 square feet less than that. So we have been able to achieve the program in a fairly efficient manner. I updated some of the schedule items to indicate the land use and local permitting are extending into March. But by and large, we've remained on schedule for design development. Obviously, we're going to be discussing North End first, followed by Norton. The key component here is our conclusion of construction documents are have not changed. And Laurel, don't freak out too much about the construction document phase. That really takes us to the end of PCR and bidding. Our documents for pricing and local authorities having jurisdiction are in July of this year. Just a refresher of some of the project approach for both the North End and Norton, centralizing on a farm and field for North End, woods and trails concepts for Norton. Again, some of our, we've shared this previously, some of our North End inspiration images from the community, as well as a reminder of some of our working group sessions and our think tank sessions. You're really trying to get a collaborative nature and information sharing both in a group setting but also at a granular level, having our regimented meetings with the working groups, etc. And I know you guys are tired of hearing me repeat this, but I always like to come back to this, our think tank mission statement for the North End. We're doing this for every child in the future of the Cheshire community so that they can feel a connection and sense of belonging to their school community and ultimately be drawn in and love learning. So, illustrated site plan, again, Marion Road to the top of the screen, Jarvis Street to the left. North in this instance is situated to the right of the page. This represents the current site plan, which includes, I don't know, you can see, which includes sidewalks coming down from the intersection of Jarvis and Marion all the way into the site at the pre-kindergarten entry. We do have a connection between the parking spaces, between the pre-K parking and pickup and drop-off, and the larger field of parking. We also have a sidewalk coming on Marion Road from the project property all the way down our access road. Now, the one thing that came up at the P&Z meeting is that we are providing a modest landscape separation between the edge of the access road and the edge of the sidewalk on that particular road. So there's approximately a 4 to 5 foot strip of grass from the edge of the sidewalk. The purpose of which obviously is to, you know, if we have buses or trucks coming down that access drive to allow the children to be safe. A couple of other things that are relatively subtle on this site plan, but it's worth repeating. You'll see, or it's worth identifying, you'll see our sewer easement that is on the property. Through conversations through the regulatory process, there was a desire to keep any structure or hardscape off of this area. When I say hardscape, I specifically mean the basketball court. So we have positioned that so that it is not over the easement. Similarly, we have positioned the soccer field so that the 2 manhole structures that are associated with this sewer line are not within the field. And there's one at this corner here, and there's another at this corner here. By and large, the remainder of the site has remained the same. We have the north end kind of situated in the middle of the site with our playscapes and some of our above-ground detention further down the hill. The one thing that I will also mention is that we do have some modest segmented retaining walls up near the intersection of Jarvis and Marion. This is mainly to try and maintain as much of an elevation at that so that we don't have such a steep fall from that intersection. So by putting these there, they're all under the height that would require us to have a fence or a guardrail above them. So we're stepping it so that, you know, it's 30 inches at each retaining wall. So ultimately, that may be a nice spot to watch a soccer game in the future, frankly.
Hey, Justin, you might want to move that focal tree that's right on the easement.
Yeah.
This guy here? Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
that one, this one. Got it.
Yep. We will bring that up with Ganesh. So I do want to show this. This is more of the technical drawing, but it shows the underground infrastructure for stormwater control. It also shows the grades to indicate, you know, how much earth we're moving on the site. Though we are moving a lot of earth, pushing it around, the goal is to have a balanced site. Balanced in the sense of we will not be exporting any material that's dug up on this site will be placed somewhere else on this site. So it's not truly balanced in the sense that we do need some structural fill for our settlement platforms that are near our academic wings, our grade level learning communities. Because the existing grade is, so because of our finished floor elevation is approximately 7 to 8 feet above the finished grade there, we do need to structure a platform of fill up to that level. So that is something that was part of the geotechnical report, and it's certainly going to be part of the early enabling that I know that ONG is interested in.
Where's that dirt coming from
Dirt for what?
for the
Cellar
overcharge?
platforms? Well, up on the site where those cuts are.
So no import for that?
No.
Okay.
The only thing that will be hauled off site is just the cuttings of the topsoil that they screen and stuff. So there will be a little bit, but that's normal.
Okay.
Any questions on the site before I start to move into the floor plan?
Oh, hey, how are you?
What's that? Oh, I was gonna leave that for the big crescendo, but because I'm sure everybody, I believe the cost estimates have been distributed, but when we start talking to the budget, everything that we're showing you today is within the budget, and we are currently on budget. So this is a much better discussion than we had, and a less painful discussion than we had at the conclusion of schematic design. Thank you, Jeff. I buried the lead there. So floor plans, and I'm going to move Chairman Gussenberg out of the way here a little bit. So we have, we'll get into the larger floor plans. Main floor at the bottom left, second floor above that. We have an axonometric that kind of explodes how these floors fit over one another. The last time that we shared this with you, we did not have the axon updated to the media center changes. However, this should be familiar in terms of what we reviewed at the last meeting with respect to combining the media center with the elevator access, both from the corridor side but also the media center side. You'll see that we've started to fill in some more detail with respect to our learning stair or our social stair. You'll also see that there is more detail in our food service equipment plan. We have been working with the district and the food service folks to make sure that we are accommodating all of the equipment and the layouts that are desired there. So in broad summary, just as a refresher, our main entry is here, and we have balanced the nurses suite or the health suite to the right and the administrative suite to the left. The other areas in green are for the administrative personnel for the pre-kindergarten area. We have our pre-K wing of Smart Start to the south of the floor plan, as well as some of our early intervention and intensive education spaces within our kindergarten learning community. So the idea is that as students matriculate from birth to 3 to pre-kindergarten to kindergarten, they kind of get drawn in a little bit further into the learning communities. Again, all of our public spaces are situated to the front off of what we consider our Main Street corridor. So we have our media center in pink. We have some support services, intervention, speech, and their associated offices, visual arts, ensemble, and instrumental music. Now, there was a comment at our last meeting about making sure that we were providing the appropriate square footage. This is on the square footage that is part of the ed spec for visual arts. Our gymnasium in purple, as well as our platform, gym storage, cafeteria, kitchen, and in the lower right-hand corner is our first and second grade learning community. So that learning community, as a reminder, is more or less replicated on the upper level and mirrored for the other wing. 5 grades, 5 classrooms per grade level, shared within 2 grades, shared within a learning community with resource support spaces, infrastructure, and teacher work and planning. So for the upper level, we have some general music, OTPT, as well as our visual arts at the second floor of our media center off of our Main Street. We do have an area you'll see in some of the images of, we're calling it an upper cafeteria, but it's more an area that's connected to the cafeteria below. And we have our 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th grade learning communities. So again, those are replicated with a bridge connector between the two. So this serves as means of egress, although we likely need to look at the door orientation in order to make sure that we're getting people down that stair. That's taking notes. I know. So in some building sections, so this is a section through the cafeteria. You'll see it's a double height space. The servery is beyond a communicating stair that gets us up to the upper level in the Main Street corridor. Some of our support spaces that are between the Main Street corridor and our learning communities. Through this section, we have our 1st and 2nd grade learning communities. On the lower level, our 3rd and 4th grade learning communities on the upper level, and our kind of core spaces or support spaces, faculty workrooms in this case, are stacked here. You'll see we have our big dedicated outside air handlers that are there. So we're really incorporating all this stuff into the model.
Can we incorporate some screening for those?
So one of the things, I actually think that these are set potentially a couple, 1 to 2 feet higher, but yeah, we'll take a look at this. They're ostentatious, I would describe them in this section, because you're really kind of seeing it from, almost, it's a section perspective, but it's not within, a ground level perspective. but your point's well taken. We'll look at that.
No Cheshire Library front entrance again, please.
Okay.
No what? Sorry?
Cheshire Library has a
Oh.
front entrance, is a double set of doors immediately surmounted by a huge HVAC unit on top of the roof.
So I will tell you that, and this is similar, I believe, for Norton, but the goal is to place all of these units back behind kind of the main volumes of the cafeteria, gymnasium, and the media center.
So right now, this one's kind of floating about 3 feet in the air because they're waiting for us to finish our roof insulation. So this will sit down a little bit, but this one will be, for the most part, concealed by the gable. But we'll show you some elevation sections.
This is a north-looking view, so you don't even have the tall street where you're
Right.
looking down on it,
Right.
which
Yeah.
would be blocked by some of the
But
structure.
point well taken. We'll
Yeah.
get some views so you can see what.
Or at least paint them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those windows that you're seeing over the first and second grade, where is that?
That is an extension above of the wall above the corridor. So we have some sloped roofs that come in to allow some natural light into the second floor corridors. So this is a section through the media center. So you'll see at our lower level, we have our administrative front office as well as our administrative offices. I think this is looking at the front wall for the principal and the assistant principal. Second floor of our media center directly above that. You can see the concept of the double height space for the media center. Elevator beyond, our Main Street corridor stacked. This section cut also shows us going through 2 toilets. We have our early, it's important to see, I guess. We also have our early intervention classroom spaces and our kindergarten learning community beyond, and our 5th and 6th grade learning community above. So, Anna, you want to take us through some of the...
So what we're looking at here is a picture that we took from one of the visioning sessions. So the top image that we're looking at was kind of workshopped with all of the staff that attended that session. So you can see that they had some comments about colors and images that they loved, and some comments that they had. So what we're looking to do is kind of identify themes for each wing or grade, just to kind of create space within the school. So as students are traveling around, they have a logo or a color that they're kind of relating to as they're traveling around. So you can see where we started and then the comments from staff, parents, and students that kind of led us to where we ended up. So this is the lower level. So starting in pre-K, we're working with a kind of a caterpillar theme, and then as they go into kindergarten, like Justin was saying, they're kind of growing up, they're becoming part of the larger school community. As we get into grades 1 and 2, we incorporated those 2 grades together, and that would become the flower fields. And as we get upstairs with 3rd and 4th grade, that would be the barnyard. And 5th and 6th grade would be our open pastures. That's kind of signifying they've reached the end of their journey here. They're moving on to middle school. So this was something that we showed during the visioning sessions. It kind of developed and became what you're looking at here. These are all things that everyone agreed on, and they feel good about kind of implementing throughout both schools. So just going through them really quickly, we're looking at consistent neutral color palettes across both of these schools, complemented by the curated accent colors. Those accent colors will be cued in by the different themes of the schools. So for North End today, we're working with farm and field, so we're kind of bringing in all of those natural elements. So instead of seeing your primary colors, we're going to kind of tweak those tones and come up with a little bit more creative of a palette. And then also looking at neutral and natural finishes and material selections across both schools. And then the next step would be kind of how we create those personalities and themes throughout the school.
Just a if I could.
Yeah,
Can we go back to the first floor slide?
sure.
Just an observation. The colors for the kindergarten and grades 1 and 2 are very, very similar.
They are. So I think what we were looking to do was kind of create a palette, so you can see each wing would have a couple colors associated with it. We don't want them to walk into a wing and just be, hit in the face with yellow. So throughout the wing, they'll be seeing bits and pieces of all of the different colors. So I think going forward, we can definitely tweak the colors just so it's very obviously different. But the intent would be to kind of have a mixture of a bunch of different colors in each wing.
I think it works really well on the second floor because
Yeah.
they're really different.
Yeah, and the overall goal, you can see that a lot of the colors are replicated from grade to grade. So we're kind of pushing and pulling just based on the themes. We also want to be attentive to the grades using those spaces. So you can see down in pre-K, those are a little bit more subdued. We visited Darcy, everything over there, we went through their curriculum and we heard what they're looking for. So we kind of wanted to pay attention to the children using those spaces as well.
Thanks.
Okay, so coming in, this is our view upon entering that main hall, so that's that front entrance. Right behind you, so if you were to kind of turn around 180 degrees, you would have your admin suite and your health suite, and of course your main entrance behind. So the door that you're looking at right in front of you with the display case would be part of the admin suite. So that would be really for admin only, kind of coming in and out, but we wanted to make sure that there was some visibility through there. So that students kind of can see what's going on and it's not a door. And then over to the left, we have some branding. Again, farm and fields were what we were trying to look for. So bringing in, Dr. Solon expressed that he was interested in bringing in cognitive architecture into the space. So what that means to us is taking normal pieces of design and making them fun and interactive for students. So not only incorporating things that they know, so this might be a map of their neighborhood where they can walk up and point out what street they live on, or something that they notice nearby, like the library or something like that. But also kind of, as you'll see, we go through, they're seeing shapes and colors that they're recognizing and that they can interact with, and it kind of creates spaces within their larger community.
I think too, the architecture in here, we're bringing in some batten details on the walls, just to really bring in that farm feel, the farmhouse feel. The checkerboard pattern, really simple, just recalling a kind of nostalgia to a kind of farmhouse feel. So the pattern here is really just very simple checkerboard, something that the kids could relate to. Obviously the yellow is the pop of color, and then the green supports the graphic on the left side.
It's a little hard to see in this one just because the color is a little off, but we do, as Ernest said, supply battens on either of the walls. What would be installed in those, just depending, and this kind of goes throughout the school. If it's something down low, we use what's called tectum, and that's kind of the bird's nest looking material. So this lovely one right here. So that would be
Justin,
something
you should
that's.
market that idea.
I think we each have one. After that first meeting, I bet everybody on the team does.
He did it just to make me feel better. You guys know that.
So if it's something that's going to be down low and might have children touching, rubbing by it, we wanted to go with tectum, which has a little bit more durability to it. If it's something up higher, like what you're seeing here, we're using felt little panels, which is right here. They come in a variety of shapes, patterns.
You can pass those around.
Yep, yeah, feel free to touch and feel everything. So again, going throughout the entire school, that's kind of just our rule of thumb that we're following.
Yeah, those will have like a vertical panel look, so it looks like a clapboard, like a vertical clapboard.
Yeah, and then looking straight through this view right here, so that's looking into the courtyard. So as students are kind of entering the school, they're getting a view of that courtyard as they travel to their learning communities.
And the upper windows, the one to the right is obviously the media center, to the left is the art classroom. So there's a lot of open light coming in through the light from the media center as well as the art classroom.
These raw materials that you typically use, and so
Correct.
durable, cleanable, all that sort of stuff.
Correct. Yeah, and like I said, I think we try to use them where it's appropriate. So something like the felt, you can see how that would get dirty, so we kind of try to elevate it where there's not little fingers touching.
Yeah, and we have the tile at the base for backpacks. You
Yeah.
can see to the left as you go closer to the main corridor or the other corridor. There's tile on the left past that green wall.
Yep.
And then the floor, the porcelain tile on the floor.
Yeah, so coming into the main entry, of course, in the vestibules, we're gonna have some sort of walk-off tile, walk-off system to grab all of the dirt upon entering the school. What we're looking for in this main entry is a material that's able to kind of be used on that statement stair, just so we have a continuous material going up that stairs, as it's the first thing you see when you come in. You want it to be durable, you want it to look great, so we're looking for a tile application for that right now. The gym. So in a gym, again, we were playing into that kind of a barn style, so you can see on the stage surround. We're working with some verticals, kind of creating what's similar to barn doors. Again, within the panels of the stage, you can see we have different colored elements in here. What that is the painted tectum. So tectum, you can paint any color. It's easily field refinished as well, so if there's any dings, maintenance can come in and easily clean it up with the paint. And again, it's impact resistant, so it's a great use of acoustics in a gym. You can see we also have tectum panels wrapping the entire space as well. For this, we wanted to see, I know you saw some wood ceilings in the previous main hall rendering, but in this we wanted to lighten up the deck a little bit, make it nice and airy. You have views into that center garden right out front, so you have a lot of views to natural light and also to the surrounding scenery.
That's also an acoustic deck.
Is there, will it be I'm just trying to think of the orientation of the sun, but like if you're shooting free throws at that far end, is there
It
something that
comes
can come down
in this
south?
around
You
like
look
9
at the
o'clock in the
list.
morning, and then on the other side.
So an afternoon game for a league.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
you
sure
can
that
see.
the
It
sun
may not be
isn't
for the
shooting-
school day, but as you get towards the end of the day, it's gonna be setting to the west, right? So
Yeah, so the sun comes in the morning, kind of juts across this and then ends up over here. So right now it's about 2 o'clock in this rendering. And the other thing with the wood floor, so you see we proposed 2 different colors. It kind of just creates, especially for elementary school students, it's kind of like a go, no-go area. So they kind of understand their spatial awareness a little bit more. And again, we're going with that wood floor system. We're working with our vendor right now just to make sure that we're specifying the correct type of system. Understanding we do have a separate cafeteria space. We don't need to accommodate cafeteria tables in this space, but we do want to make sure that it's appropriate for any sort of multi-purpose chairs or anything like that. And you can see the stage here has some risers on it, and that would have a operable partition that would be able to close. That stage does do double duty between the caf and the gym, so we just want to make sure that that can be completely closed off depending on what sort of activities are happening.
where's north in this? To the right.
Where the gym
This, that way.
So the sun sets, so around like 2 o'clock in the afternoon is when you're gonna get sun going that way, coming into the window.
Correct, yeah, which is why you
So
can
the
see it
windows
on
on
this.
the right, not the windows behind the backboard. But I think the only other thing behind the
No.
backboard, I'd be a
No.
little bit.
The sun will be
The
coming.
the sun is gonna be where Rich is.
The north is the stage.
North is the stage.
North is the stage,
Right.
okay.
So you're gonna get it coming, your question is very
Yeah,
valid.
in the afternoon, if there was a shade that could come down on that upper half, that just, you know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Then the other thing I worry a little bit about, because we know this is gonna be a community space, not
Sure.
just little kids, is, you know, Sean Kimball running full tilt toward the basket, losing control and crashing into the glass. I mean, that's Sean. Maybe, all right, let's say Sean dunks, okay? And his momentum carries him into the glass. I'm just a little concerned about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's just something to consider.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, one thing we can do
Looks
is just
beautiful, though.
lift this up to kind of meet that level, so that
Yeah,
it's kind of, you
yeah.
know, knees aren't gonna be an issue. You're still
Yeah.
getting the views, but we'll have wall pads underneath it.
Yeah. Just, you know,
Are those plants
Maybe even-
on the
yeah.
bottom half
So
of
that-
the wall?
Yes.
right into the head first.
Yeah.
Maybe we go halfway.
Can I ask a question about?
Of course.
So I think we have this in my building. Do they make ceiling tiles out of this?
They do.
Okay. So our ceiling tiles at work that are made out of this have gotten wet and are now like disintegrating. These tiles are, these ones are like 20 years old.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if they've made improvements in this since then.
Yes. So Tectum is actually a brand, but it was recently bought by Armstrong.
Okay.
So Armstrong is kind of their bigger umbrella right now. So everything that you're seeing here is all wall applied. So it's a direct attach. It's kind of on C-clips, so they can pull it on and off. If it does get damaged,
You can take the whole thing off.
That's great.
but there's no chance of it it's secure, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And then can there be some, so what they've done at my work is when these have failed, they just put in old ugly ceiling tiles that don't match. So I don't know if there's some way to like say that it has to be this.
Yeah.
But they do, it's right here.
Yeah.
So ceiling wise, it's actually gonna be the one right to your left, the more white, yeah. So that's your ceiling tile. So you won't see any of those in a ceiling system.
Great.
It will be more of, yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see them in the ceiling system if they match, but this is
We've done them
fantastic.
occasionally with a cloud, so it's kind of a
Oh,
hanging
that's
cloud.
adorable.
You can do custom shapes and colors, so it kind of creates fun elements
that.
out of it. Yeah.
Actually, Brookfield that you want.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, of
Yeah.
course, that's right.
The circular.
And
acoustic
those were
tiles.
painted,
Those
that's
are
why I
all
didn't
painted.
recognize them.
Yes.
Is there no duct work in the gym? Is there a, how do we heat and ventilate?
Right now,
You want it heating in?
Don't worry.
I'm just wondering if it's through the roof.
Yes. What is not shown here.
Because that is the elephant that will be in the room.
I believe we have duck socks.
yes, correct.
That's an artistic representation.
Yes. But for ducks, to address what you're asking, so for duck socks, they do come in colors, so we would again go with something that kind of hides. We wouldn't go for a metal color or an accent color. We have done accent colors before to kind of overemphasize so that you're not trying to hide it. So in the future, we can look at doing a rendering just so you can see both ways.
Any fans?
That wasn't part of the conversation. I mean, we're open
We
to-
often have used the large fans, slow moving fans to circulate the air. I don't want to say
Big
that.
large diameter,
Yeah,
big donkey fans, big mule.
So I don't remember if they made their way into the DE set if we needed to use them. But to answer your question specifically on the ducts, we use duct socks. The source is coming from behind you in this view, and they would be up in between the trusses.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of also with the fans was, you're gonna, all your heat's gonna go up, so some de-stratification makes some sense, but
I will look, it's a good question.
I have seen the big fans in gyms, and I look at it and I'm like, geez, I wish they were there when I was playing,
We
because that would be a
typically
target.
I'll look, I don't know.
I guess they're impact resistant too.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, to become a target.
What are the trusses
love
in the
to
gym?
smack.
That's all just like open placing steel, or is that timber or?
Yeah. And our intent would be, I know right now it's rendered as kind of a stainless, the intent would be that it would be some sort of painted finish, probably white. So it'd be a little bit brighter than what you're seeing here. And one thing I just wanted to mention too is that there's actually doors on both sides of the gym. There's a set of double doors here and also over here. So those, as well as the entrances into the gym, can be used to go outside for gym class, really easily accessible for the staff.
And can this be a voting location?
Probably,
Yes.
yeah.
Almost certainly.
Give me an art.
What's that?
The current one in that district is really.
It's pretty tough.
The other thing about the large fans is one of the challenge is when making. You would think that you have all the room in the world to put them in there, but when you have three goals on each side that all retract up into the ceiling, as well as a divider in the middle, your space is actually fairly limited once it gets there. I mean, it's always a coordination issue in the field because you're looking to rig all of these things to your primary structural system. So, anyway, okay.
In terms of like IT and stuff for the stage, is there gonna be like some sort of projector in there, or is that different, huh?
We, I can tell you what we've done in other double double-sided stages. Is we put projectors on the inside, on each side, and one screen in the middle. So it allows you to project something from either direction and have that screen available. So that would be something that we would be looking at. In terms of other stuff like audio visual or specialty lighting, we typically don't do anything elaborate in an elementary school. Primarily,
I was just thinking
we
like-
always make the joke about do you really need elaborate theatrical lighting to listen to Hot Cross Buns on the board? So.
Just in terms like you start with this like beautiful gym. It's open. You got all this open truss, and then you throw a little ductwork in here. Then you got a fan, and now you got this giant cage around a projector that's in the middle, and then it just looks like a small gym again.
Yeah.
So, like anything we can avoid from putting up there.
Or the worst is when you hang a projector on the opposite wall and you get even a minimal amount of vibration in that and cast across an entire gym. That becomes pretty substantial in the picture. So we're trying to put all that stuff.
Should be able to like IT that out of this
Yes.
solution.
Yeah, because you can do short throw projectors in the center space. That's great.
Yep.
That'll be so cool.
Are the bleachers retractable or no?
They are.
Yes.
Yep.
With the motor?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can either do a motor or an motorized assist. So there's a look kind of like a dolly that you attach it to, and it helps you pull them out. That's easier to replace than an entire mechanism on a retractable bleacher. So.
Or some vertebrae when you don't have any motor at all, you have somebody trying to. But they're not, that's what I'm saying, they're not just manual, they are.
So the so again, you're seeing the other side of that stage now. In the cafeteria, what we wanted to focus on was that central element that you see in yellow. So you'll notice on the side, the stage is a little bit more subdued. So in this space, again, we're kind of playing into that farm and field. Again, we're doing a little bit more of an abstract barn shape, using that central yellow element as the focal point. So within the space here, we will have linoleum flooring, which is right here. So this is a natural product. It does not require any waxing, sealing, anything like that. So it's just a wet mop and a dry mop to clean. It's perfect for a cafeteria.
This one's called corn.
It is!
So it's not your grandparents' linoleum.
Correct.
So.
It's like way nicer.
Yes. So in the calf here, you can see that we were playing with a floor pattern, again, kind of leaning into that nostalgic farmhouse, but we are still doing some, playing around with floor patterns and things like that, just depending on the furniture layouts and other graphics in the space. So what you're looking at here is a bench-style seat. These are great for elementary school especially, as opposed to a table that has individual stools, because you can kind of fit a little bit more children on one bench. When you get with the stool model, you're kind of limited for how many stools you have. But as you know, kindergartners are a little bit smaller than adults, so you can kind of fit a little bit more kids in here at once. So these all fold up and are able to be moved. We do provide storage for these tables. In speaking with the group at different meetings, it was kind of understood that if the space was to be needed, the tables would kind of just be folded up and moved to the sides when needed. And off to the side here, you can see our servery entrance with different iterations of the food service model. What we're looking at now is an open entrance that you can see now, and right out of view is a full solid wall. So this would be open at all times, but anything that is not great to look at would kind of be hidden behind that wall. So our goal would be to kind of do either a fun graphic or some sort of image on that back wall, so that you're looking at something as you're looking here.
Same questions I had before. Do we need any sort of destratification, some large A fans? And is there ductwork, or am I seeing registers in the wall there, some supplies?
There are some
diffusers?
registers.
So all the heating and ventilation will be coming from the side walls, no overhead ductwork, but
So there are a couple things that I think as we get some of our consultants' models up to speed that will be very important in this. In the cafeteria and in the media center, we have a wood roof deck. And we will expose these structural systems with tie rods, and they will become part of the architecture within the space. There will be, this is not, what is shown in this rendering is not a very good representation of what we're intending for the space, okay? And there will be one on every structural beam.
What are those that look like pipes?
Those are the tie rods he's talking about.
No, I think what you're
These
talking
are-
about.
These are the linear exit lights
So that's your
for
light.
the space,
Okay,
correct?
gotcha.
Yep.
Will there be sprinkler piping like right next to that as well that you'll see, or no? I'm just curious if, like we were saying before, that it looks great and open and spacious here, but there's some elements that aren't there.
Those, with the beams up above. So they'll most likely be side mount throws.
Yeah, we're gonna try to hide the mains on the left and right and sneak them up, the
Come up
beams,
along.
yeah, so you don't see them.
Nice.
Or,
One other thing I wanted to just mention in terms of finishes. So as you can see on this cafeteria or the surgery wall here, we are looking to do wall tile as wall protection in these spaces. As you can imagine, when kids are lining up for lunch, they're going to be rubbing backpacks for dismissal. So we wanted something that will just be able to be easily cleaned and stand the test of time. So you can see we have it full height on this wall. The intent would be to kind of create some sort of graphic, maybe using different color tiles to kind of create something on this wall. And then on the opposite wall, you can see we only have it to 4 feet, just because that kind of is that height for backpacks where you're rubbing. And then one other thing to point out is this graphic right here. The intent would be throughout the building to kind of create graphics again, as you saw in the main hall, something that's interactive. So the goal with this one would maybe be one of the corn stalks would have measurements on it, so as students are walking by, they can kind of see how tall they are compared to stalks of corn. So it's kind of things throughout like that throughout the building that will allow students as they're traveling from different specials to kind of interact with their space.
So that, I will say that will likely be a fun part of our discussions with your staff to really get them, juiced for this. These are representations at this point. I think there's some interactivity that we're going to have in order to nail down exactly what we've been asking our AI bot in the office for, like some instructional graphics and stuff that we can start to look at.
Cool, thanks. I just appreciate the consideration.
So this would be that SLC or small learning community that we've been talking about earlier in the presentation. So if you're looking at a floor plan, you can see what this looks like in terms of scaling. So right now we're calling out about half of the SLC. As you can see, there are 5 other classrooms that aren't included in this little axon right here. But upon entering the classroom corridor, that will kind of be the student's first entrance into that wing. So again, we want to kind of address the logos and the themes and the colors so that as they're kind of coming down the corridors, they're able to identify from a distance where they're headed. And then upon entering, you can see we have kind of a long corridor. So what we're looking to do is identify the classroom entrances from spaces like faculty with finishes around the doors, just something to kind of call it out as an important space and let those faculty spaces kind of die into the wall beyond. In each corridor, we will have decorative wall protection up to 48 inches. There's a piece on the table. It's called Hardstop. It's a UV resin. I'm looking for it. I think it's hidden. Oh, here it is. It's a UV resin laminate panel. So it's basically your plastic laminate that you put on millwork. They just coat it and it's very durable. So we use that as wall protection. It gets directly adhered to the wall, and you can use trim pieces to kind of make it work. Jeff tested it the other day with a pair of keys, and I think it stood up to it. So
Is that like acronym?
it is, yes. It's a little bit. You can when you feel it, you'll know what it is.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
With
more
Acrovan,
rigid
we've been noticing it gets dinged up. So when you feel that, I think you'll feel the difference.
Is it one big sheet or is
It
it?
is. So they come about 4 feet high by 10 feet wide, so it's perfect for that 4 foot. And then on each kind of seam, you'll have different trim pieces, so it's very clean looking. Yeah. And then moving into the classrooms, so in each classroom you have a presentation front. So in speaking with the faculty and staff and how they kind of use their space, it was made very clear that while it is great to have a front of the classroom, they also look to defront the classroom, so using different spaces. So you can see in this space we have a front of the classroom with writable and tackable surfaces, but then in the back of the classroom you have kind of a similar wall. So you can send little groups to do different things in different points of the classroom. All of the furniture is easily movable. We love this shape. It's called a koi shape. It's shaped like a fish. You can create groups of 2, 3, 4, 5 very easily. The students can move it. It's kind of really flexible for whatever they're doing that day.
Question for you.
Yeah.
I've seen this in some older schools, and I don't know if it's not a common thing in new ones, but I look at the wall in the middle there, and I'm just envisioning, I mean, I was just recently on a project, and when I was there, it was at the beginning of the school year, like a week before it opened, and the teachers were there, and there are these boards out front, and they're decorating it, and they're tacking things up and whatnot for, you know, ABCs and whatever it is appropriate for their class, like a bulletin board type of thing.
Yep.
Is there anything that's interactive out there for teachers,
There
or is it
is.
just a plain?
So what we're looking to do, you can kind of see here, so this yellow around, but again, kind of relate back to that theme, back to the different wayfinding and the wing. Right next to it, this gray wing is that tackable that you grabbed before. So it's tackable wall covering. It again comes in sheets. We like to install it floor to ceiling. Teachers can use that to display nameplates. They can put student artwork, anything like that that you just mentioned. So each room kind of has their own individual one right outside the
It looks like
classroom.
it's about an 8 by 8 type of thing.
Yeah, bingo. Wow. Sometimes we
Get
look
one every
to
once
do-
in a while.
They come in sheets of 4 feet, so that was a good. Oh, and then at the end of the corridor, this would be that breakout space. So this is a space, really agile furniture, easily movable by the students. Not anything that's going to become too much of a nuisance. We're not looking for couch type lounge furniture. It's more like poofs and things that keep the students active when they're seating.
Oops.
Poofs. Poufs. So this is what that breakout space would look like. So again, these are at the end of the corridor, so as you're walking down this corridor, you get a really great view out to the surrounding site as you're walking down the hall. But we wanted to make sure that when you were coming down this way, you also had a view of something. So that graphic that you're looking at kind of relates back again. We're in grades 1 and 2, so we're looking at that flower field. So we have a graphic that's floor to ceiling, but then they have that big logo that kind of recenters them back to where they are. What we were looking at for this was, it's called, it's from Coraseal. It's a wall protection panel, but it's actually writable. So you can print with a graphic on it, but they can write all over it, and it's totally writable and erasable. So yeah, I thought that was a fun one.
Cool.
Yeah, and you can see right outside that classroom how that would kind of be used.
A question,
Yeah,
back
sure.
in the hallway, you just showed, that's in like the younger grades, right?
Correct.
Like, what's the locker room or not the locker room, the lockers look like for the
Yeah.
hallways?
So lockers, what we tried to do, I don't know if we have a good view of this one. Floor plan. What we tried to do, we're doing double stacked. So what we tried to do was kind of locate them in central areas in the corridor so that we're not taking up immense amounts of space. So you can see, like over here, we kind of ganged all of them here so that we have some blank walls elsewhere to do those tackable displays. But other than that,
Upper
it's
level lockers, lower level
cubbies.
any class.
Got it, because
Yeah.
not like double stacked lockers. You're saying lockers are
So-
upstairs.
One of the
No, it's two double height lockers.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I just wanted to share, and I don't know if we have this yet, I don't know if we sent the invitation, but we have the ability within our BIM 360 to share this link with everyone. And what you can do is be able to pan around. Right now I have a section cut here through the gymnasium. Okay, so you can, through some of the controls, you can kind of move this according to, you know, any location within the,
It's view only, so don't
yes,
worry about it.
yeah, don't worry.
I don't think the invite went out, but
It didn't, but what, we have modeled the site so that we have more of a global understanding of the site and the topography. So you'll have to forgive us because we do have some things that we are cleaning up in the model. For instance, I think we have a stair that somebody moved just out of the way. But you'll be able to see some of the, you'll be able to pan around, see some of the topography from Marion in terms of what we're looking at. So this should be going out to the committee. It is it's interactive. When it goes out, we'll kind of direct you to where each one of these things exists, but it's pretty intuitive. You can add some cut planes that allow, like I said, that allow you to move the section cut through here. So if we wanted to say, take a look at the media center, I think you can also take it from the top, if I'm not mistaken. Oops. I think I messed this up last time too.
But this would be for us to look at, just
Yeah.
concepts, get information. I mean, this isn't final, of course, so you don't want us to.
And I think it updates as we update our model too, right? Just, or does it have to be published?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Can we get it with the rooftop units?
Yeah, we'll make sure that we turn the, I think we probably shut it off for the purposes of this one, just to be able to, but, so you'll be able to see like some of the things, you'll be able to get in here and see the learning stair as it gets up to the upper level. We are building in a concept of, Ernest, I don't know if you want to describe.
A silo.
Yeah.
So the bleacher seating too, it's meant to represent like haystacks. We didn't get a rendering to you, but we will.
Yeah.
Oops. I'm still learning how to play around with this too.
So that would be the learning stair, and the reason we call it a learning stair, so you can see it does connect the two levels. So you can use it for circulation, but you can also use it for reading, for classes. The silo actually has a little stage that's kind of built into it. So a teacher can kind of stand, present to their class who's sitting on the learning stair, or students can use it for different dramatic play things as well. So that's again kind of bringing in that cognitive architecture where you want to feel like you're kind of in a science museum or something like that, where everything around you is playing into the 90. I know we covered only a few spaces and a few materials, but is there anything else finish-wise or interiors-wise that you have questions on that we can answer? Loaded question.
Well, I'm sure you all want to get to a summary of,
Can you go to the lobby? You can ask your code expert. That stair coming down, when it makes a 90-degree bend, the railing is going to be a home bigger.
Yep, we'll check that.
Yeah, it turns.
Right, and it turns a foot into the hallway.
And that's historically why we've put a bench on the other side of it to push the people away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so where we are in terms of our reconciled cost estimates, again, our budget, $73,500,700. So we have two cost estimates, and these, we went through a reconciliation process. We even went through a second reconciliation process with the site information once we spoke to the environmental engineer. The PAC's, or the design team's cost estimate, came in at $69.6 million. And ONG's estimate came in at 71.6. So all told, the cost estimate differential is approximately $2 million, or 2.8% of the highest cost estimate. It represents a design development economy with respect to budget of between 1.9 million and 3.9 million. So we, as the documents sit right now, we are between 2.5% and 5.5% under our construction budget. So a lot of the, and this has been, in our opinion, this has been validated based on some of the market prices that we've been getting. We just received full bids on elementary school in Madison that is tracking at about $4.5 million under budget. And that was a $54 million construction budget. We also have
Norwalk Elementary, which is tracking similar cost per square foot site costs. So we have shared all this information with all parties and estimators so that we can be as current as possible. But we have two fresh projects that were received pretty good bid spreads too, as far as coverage.
So in all, if you recall, it means two things. We seem to have, the market seems to, at least in our opinion, have settled down a little bit. We also did not get too far out over our skis in terms of our value management exercises after schematic design. So credit to Arcadis and OG for being partners in that to make sure that we're also kind of not going too far afield here, right? So all in all, good news story. We are anxious about our Norton numbers because we do have that sequencing and logistics that are, as well as full demolition and abatement of the building. So those, in terms of, I believe we're getting estimates next week with reconciliation somewhere around the 5th.
The 5th, yeah, March 5th.
5th. See if there's anything else. Oh, we have thank you. I wrote this note to myself. So we have also conducted an energy model through Kohler Ronin based on our insulation values that are called out in our buildings, our mechanical systems, etc. Our current EUI is around 23.5, or between 23 and 24, which is below the target that we were talking about. So EUI is like golf. The lower it is, the better the score. So that this puts us well within our Eversource incentives. When we made the move to the hybrid system, we were targeting between 25 and 30 EUI, and that's the incentive zone that we're in with Eversource, but we are below 25 at this point. So
do you guys have a sort of a laundry list that if numbers are coming in low, will we always do this, that, and the other?
let's wait until.
Same with the at the end. Well, no, I'm saying same with at the end. At the end of a project. Is that something we do?
So you saw some wood ceilings that were hung ceilings. That was a value management item to be an ad alternate. So we're just for our artistic flair, we're showing those in the hung ceilings. The wood decking is in our baseline cost estimate. So it's a wood structural deck, 3 inches thick. Due to that thickness, we don't need to provide any additional fire protection.
So to answer I think what your question directly.
I was trying to not answer his question.
Let's get through Norton, see where we are there. Typically, middle of CD phase, we'll start talking about alternates or alternates to the project. Typically, it's materials, it's finishes, it's changes in scope that we want to price if we have good bids, bid day, good bids, bid day. We can also talk about any kind of upgrades to mechanical systems or things like that. So I think that's still to come. I think we're in a good spot right now. And that conversation.
Just to be clear, I wasn't saying, what's the list? I'm saying, do you guys maintain a list of things?
We
Or is
do.
it just, when the time comes, we're just spitballing, saying, how about a playground? How about another basketball court?
No, we've done a lot of work together with ONG, but also we have a pretty good list of what we would recommend as alternates.
That's what,
And
okay.
that conversation has kind of become, and typically we talk
Wait till
about
the
it.
time comes for
Yeah,
that, I get
middle
it.
of CDs
Yeah.
or
No,
so.
I get it.
Yeah.
All right, I just was,
Yeah.
want to make sure, ask if that's what
Absolutely.
you guys do, so.
Yep.
Thank you.
We are getting some, Benesh is working with a playground vendor to start putting together some concepts of playgrounds, etc. So that sometimes is something that you may look at if you're looking for additional things or surfacing.
Or the poured in place service, which is really expensive. We look at that as an alternate because
It's like
superior
$24
to-
a square foot.
Yeah.
So it's poured in place playground surfacing is more expensive than the playground equipment that you're on. So,
You also had that special concrete foundation that you did over at, wasn't it like an insulated, forms or something like that?
Yeah, the ICF, that is a structural system, so that to kind of switch that up right now is that should be sealed, but there's other.
Just, you answer my question, I appreciate it. I wasn't looking for the list now, I was just curious.
Yep.
If that's something that we keep a running tally of, this would be nice to have on, oh, look, we can do that, let's do it.
So any
Can I just say, Ernest and Anna, wow, right, and you guys, I mean, looks amazing. It is so exciting to see, and I really appreciate all the detailed thought that went into the scheming and the design, and it really looks so beautiful. I've already shared it with a bunch of people, because it's just inspiring. So, even more excited today. This is awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
You have Laurel. Okay, Laurel, the schedule?
I'll make it quick, because I don't want to go long. Yeah, Corinne.
This is what you
These are heavy. Serious. Everybody got one? All right, just to, again, we have a lot of stuff going on right now, so we just want to kind of capture and make sure we're staying where we need to be, because things are moving very quickly. In theory, we're about done with the design development phase towards the middle of the next month. I do want to focus on this phase one. So we have been mentioning about how for the North End Elementary School, we wanted to pursue phase one, which means a whole separate set of bid documents and a whole separate state approval process to get those settlement platforms in. The idea would be to try to get that done this summer, and so I have a whole schedule that I've added to this pre-construction schedule, so you guys have not seen this. So it starts at the bottom of page one. I put in a phase one bid documents and construction timeline. This is for both schools. This is both Norton and North End. So if you were to say tonight, okay, let's go, let's do this, the team would have basically till the end of March to prepare the bid documents. Again, we have to go through the whole process that we're gonna have to do with the big project. We've gotta go through the local, the building official, fire marshal, they all gotta bless it. We have to do a cost estimate. We have to come back to you and have you approve these phase one bid documents. The Board of Ed has to approve the phase one bid documents. We've gotta go up to the state. Then there's the bidding, the approval process. So that's the timing of things in order to be able to start work on site. You'll see towards the bottom of page two, mobilizing and getting on site basically after July 4th, both sites. So just want to emphasize the importance of the settlement platforms for North End. And for Norton, nobody knows about Norton because this is still preliminary. We have another meeting tomorrow. But there's some preliminary work that we would like to do on Norton this summer. And most of it has to do with, because of where the new school corner is gonna be, next to the driveway that wraps around the existing school. We met on site with the fire marshal, and because of where the new building is located, it's right next to the existing driveway. In other words, we'll be undermining it. We won't be able to maintain it, and fire chief said that you cannot block that driveway, it has to stay open. And we need it for the entire construction period. So we need to basically relocate the driveway away from where the new school is gonna be. And this is work that's gonna be basically right outside the existing Norton school, right outside of their classrooms. And if you think if we're gonna be starting on site in the middle of the school year in December, the backup alarms, and it'll be noisy and it will be a visual distraction right outside the building. So it was discussed that we really should be trying to grab that this summer. And that's where, if we're gonna be on site anyhow, let's just try to get ourselves set up, get the culvert in. And then I was actually toying around with making maybe a playscape off of that property that's out front. So anyhow, so that's in the works, but you guys should consider having us go forward with a phase 1, because we really have to get started if that's what we're gonna do. And then part and parcel of that is the switchgear. I don't think we're ready to make a recommendation yet, whether or not we need to do the switchgear and the generators. I did do a time frame if we were to do it as part of a phase 1 for both schools, or push it off till the phase 2. You get a little bit later. I don't know if we're ready to make that recommendation, right? As far as whether or not to grab that now.
I think Kohler was gonna be checking with some other manufacturers.
Yeah.
One manufacturer went from 90-week lead time to 52.
52, which is what I'm reflecting now.
Yeah.
Can you just check with them? I'm running into this on some projects now where they want to issue out the submittals, but I can't approve it because a power system study hasn't been done. Nobody knows what the fault current is, so you can't get the properly rated equipment because you don't know what it's supposed to be rated, because you got to get that from the utility company. So can you find out if they might do that in-house, but have they coordinated with the utility company to where they can get what information they need on the transformer?
The other thing that we discussed in our coordination meeting today is that, maybe we want to do switchgear as an early procurement, but then what happens in bidding if you're not including the panel boards, you're at risk of maybe not having something that's
Two different
manufacturers, et cetera. So if we're doing switchgear, we're likely doing panel boards as well. We just did this on another project, so I'll ask the question.
Yeah, and actually that makes sense. You still need all that information I was mentioning for the panel boards too. But I was thinking about that earlier, and I'm glad to see it's on here because I was going to ask you at the end of the meeting, just off on the side. Say, hey, because if they do it in-house, not an issue. But if they don't, and it's something that's prescribed to the contractor, then O&G is probably going to have to take that ahead of time, and there's some information with line lengths and things like that to go into it. So you may have to get an EC on just to help put the information together so that can get done by coordination study engineering.
So we're not ready to whether or not to include that right now, but the whole idea of a phase 1 is the concept that we've got to get behind. And I'm not going to look for, I will come back to action afterwards. I'm just finished going through the schedule. So other things that we've talked about is going to page 3.
Wait, can we please stay on page 1 for a second?
Sure.
So, you do need to know about the switchgear stuff in order to prepare the bid document, so in order by the end of the month, right? Next month?
Yeah, but there's some time frame. Basically, they have all the way to go to bid, which is the end of April.
So
Well, they
you prepare
actually
the
know
bid
the
documents,
size
you
of
don't
the-
need to know if we're gonna do the switchgear.
You don't need to, tonight, we don't need to know whether or not the switcher's gonna be included. We'll figure that out in the next week or two.
That's what I'm
No.
saying, is you gotta get the go-ahead from us, and
Right.
you gotta get the switchgear included before you can do it in the next month.
Next month is the 14th.
are phase one bid documents different than the whole bid documents? or-
Yes.
Yes. That's
It's a
what
whole
she said,
separate
it
set.
breaks it out as like a whole little project essentially.
Yes. Going up to the state, going through the whole process. So
You have
we
a
can-
start date though of the phase one bid documents of today,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. So you need to know by next month if we're going to include it, yes?
Well, I need you to know tonight if we're gonna go ahead with a phase one. Whether or not we include the switchgear, we can decide that at
Got
the
it.
14th if you want. Because we can either put that in or not put that in.
Okay, and then relocate the driveway at Norton. What part of the driveway are you talking? Is it
Here's a
corner right by
visual,
the gym?
I'm sorry I don't have a whole bunch for everybody, but here's a visual. So it's really hard to see on here. There's, the existing driveway is literally, the one that goes, if you're familiar with it, is right there. This is our building corner. It's like, we cannot, we need to be able to move around the site. So we need like basically 30 feet over.
Where does it go?
Goes to the back, it's like extra
Yeah.
parking for the back.
Yeah, it goes, it wraps around and there's a parking lot like
School,
right here.
Teacher parking back there.
Right, so it's their whole access
But
to the
it
back of
cuts
the
through the
building.
playground, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes, they're gonna lose the playground.
So you gotta like build that playground out front.
Well, that's
That's
what I
what
was gonna
she
do
just
here.
said. She said
Well, I
that,
wasn't gonna
yeah.
do the playground, just gonna have a play area. That's less. But anyhow,
We
all
can
right.
put it in the garage that Sean just
Well,
demolished.
yeah. Is the garage gone? It was there the other day.
Not yet gone.
Good, I was gonna say, it was out there the other day.
It was there like 2 days ago.
All right, so we'll come back to the phase one unless you wanna vote now. I just wanna finish going through what we're up to. So on page 3, we have the local code review RFP and contract, that's going, right? That's going through the whole process. They approved it, contracts and read. The structural threshold peer review is what you guys all went with tonight. Contract for the geothermal wells you mentioned, right? That's all underway. There's your special inspections and your materials testing. Those are gonna go hand in hand next. I have them as a little bit of a lag. Going down to page 3, for the constructability review, we finished North End. We prepared an entire report. Tecton prepared the responses to our report. I'm still working on Norton. I'm the clink in the clog. My MEP guy and my BIM reviewer are done. I'm just not done with Norton. So I gotta finish that. You guys authorized the herpetologist, good. You guys authorized the geothermal test wells, or that just doesn't matter? All right, next will be, you'll see coming on the horizon will be the structural steel pre-detailing effort, which I plan to have at the next meeting. Top of page 4, DD design and estimate presentation. Okay, see that acceptance, so that's gotta happen tonight. And then Norton, this is a little bit old news. We just moved it from the 1st to the 5th to do our reconciliation. But the idea is on the 14th to be prepared with the same presentation as we have tonight, but for Norton. And then you can see, right below that, you see that bar, that construction documents that Justin had mentioned earlier. These are both projects, so we need to be moving into construction documents for that July 25th date. And, let's see, page 5. So, another thing that's gonna be coming down the pike is a DEP stormwater general permit. Both sites are over 20 or 5 acres, so you gotta pull these special general permits. It's a very long application, but that's in the works. Each school's gonna cost $4,000, so just so you're aware of that bill that's gonna be coming up. And then there's a DOT encroachment permit. And then we have the approvals, the PZ. I think I'm old with inland wetlands. So turning over to page 6, DEP for Norton. So Norton and Norton are gonna be spent at the same time. My Norton PZC stuff might be old, I'm not sure. My inland wetlands is off because of what happened just this week. So we got that going on. And if you go to page 7, I actually put the same activities with the switchgear and the generator. If we were to just not include it with phase 1 and include it in phase 2. So, in theory, this is best case scenario as far as I'm concerned. We would have the switchgear on site in January, and then you gotta take a couple of months to install it. So, it's still a couple of months ahead of June, but not by much if we hold off. And and to me, this is best case scenario. This is a year lead time, and everything goes perfect with the submittals. So I threw that in there so you can see what the constraint is if we don't do it as part of phase one. So, coming back to the phase one, I just wanna make sure that we're all on the same page and that that's the way we're headed. Because we're gonna need a whole series of input from you and the Board of Ed. We gotta go through the whole process, so you guys gotta know what's coming. And you'll see that I'm looking for your approval of the phase one on April 11th.
Yeah, I appreciate moving ahead. You know, it's, when we met on site, it was, when we reviewed everything, particularly at Norton, it'd be really beneficial for us from an educational perspective to get things rolling in July as opposed to right on our doorstep, you know, literally right out the window in December, so.
So do
I
you
would
want us
certainly
to
support moving
authorize,
that forward.
do we have to authorize the phase one bid package, or do you
I
prepare
think you
it?
should authorize that we are to proceed down this path, because
I would make a motion then that we engage in a phase one, in the phase one process, is that?
yeah, for both schools.
For both schools. Yeah. Oh, does it have to be separate motions, or?
I don't know.
I think for this, no.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're not authorizing
Any
an expenditure.
Right.
I was just gonna ask that, is there some different costs that go along with
When it is a cost, yes, because you got two separate contracts, but you're having them proceed on an action.
So I would make a motion
I'll
that
second that.
we authorize ONG to proceed with phase one work on both schools. Sean, second.
Second, any discussion?
You say phase one work, it's the.
Phase one is
preparation.
preparation, right, yeah.
How does that affect the Norton estimate? Or how is that affected by the Norton estimate?
Just doing that little stuff ahead of time? Not really.
Okay.
We'll talk about a reconciliation, but I don't think it's gonna matter.
And then ultimately, you'll show us the bid package, is that like at the
Yeah,
next meeting?
ultimately, you guys will have to vote to approve this bid document, which is not just me. Tecton's got documentation to put together too, so it's a whole little package. And there will have to be an estimate to go with that. So you guys have to approve the documents and the estimate of that phase one work, and then we go up to the state with that. The Board of Ed's gotta approve it too. It's all official. Gotta sign.
We have a board meeting March 21st.
March, does that fit in my schedule?
So, Jeff, we're gonna need a proposal from Dinesh?
No, I ain't gonna fit
Yeah,
in my schedule.
we gotta understand the scope of the phase one, and then we gotta, understand what that effort is and get that to you ASAP. Yep.
Okay, so the motion to proceed with phase one, any more comments? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, proceed. And you say we have to approve the
You
design?
should vote, you want them to approve the design development, right?
All right.
We're continuing to
Estimate?
work on the project. I guess I would ask if there's anything that anybody has further concerns on with respect to where the site plan is, where the floor plans are, the design.
Did you guys take a vote on the SD? I'm pretty sure you did, didn't you?
Yeah, on SDE.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Well, we did it to stop the, we wanted to stop massaging the clay. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I-
seem like we're massaging the clay anymore, so. But either way, it's fine by me if we want to vote on it.
I would say we just got the cost estimate stuff last night at 10:30, so I'd like more time to look at it if it's not gonna hold.
So could we wait till next meeting?
It doesn't really slow you
Yeah.
down from doing anything, because you're doing the same thing.
You see that big red bar? Did you see that red bar that I did?
I don't know, I was looking
That one
past the
singular
22nd.
red bar, they gotta keep going.
Relative to the red bars, on the milestones on page one, Laurel,
Yeah.
where it talks about under construction, complete construction, let's say North End, 21 August of '26. you know, I'm fully anticipating being able to access the building way before August 21st, is that?
Yeah, where are you?
On page 1,
Yeah.
under construction,
Yeah,
complete construction north end, and it says finish date 21 of August 2026.
yeah, I got it. I thought I had a different building turnover date.
Well, that,
Bear
I
with me.
think, and I think the one underneath it where it says April the 27th is probably related to demoing the Norton and all the other stuff, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to be clear that, you know,
Yeah,
I'm
if-
anticipating getting in well before August 21st.
I could add a new milestone if you go to the very last page, page 8. I got the new buildings, both new buildings being turned over June 11th. You see June 11th on A210 and A220.
Okay, yeah, I see where you are.
But I can
Yeah.
add that. That's like the overall, because we still got site work we're gonna be cleaning up.
Yeah, I just, you know, I know
But I
we
can
talked
add- I
about
can
being
add
able to access,
turnover.
turn things over. We
Yep.
talked about the calendar last week, so.
Yep, I'll put it up there so it's clear. So it's not buried. The idea is to give it to you June 11th.
Where is it?
It's on page 8. It's just
page.
not a milestone.
Phase 2.
That's our own.
Finish construction.
Yeah,
I couldn't see it either.
yeah, it was hidden.
Thank you.
Just kept looking.
Just need to be known.
So I would say, we are looking for formal approval from this body to move to see these. It can happen at the next meeting, but I asked the original question just to make sure that we're not, we would need to be aware if there's anything objectionable or any, like, serious concerns with where we are, both in design and budget. I mean, the sooner we know that, the better, so.
I think a lot of those answers are gonna come on the 11th. Planning and zoning.
Okay.
From our end, we're kind of hostage to their wishes.
You mean for North End?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they closed the public hearing, so the only thing they can do is condition their vote.
Right.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Anything else from the architects? And Sarah, you said no public correspondence?
No new correspondence.
Okay, no new correspondence. Any good in welfare? If not, motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you could tell me that I made that motion.